What builds trust in a long distance relationship is that you're not trying to hide anything. If somebody asks you where you're at, you don't take it as, why are you monitoring me? You take it as, this person just wants you to be accountable. And you're like, oh, I'm at Dilari's house. Like, oh, say hi to him, and then, okay, fine.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Coffee and Conversation. So I've been planning to be consistent with these videos for a while, but I finally got his face and voila! So I think being in love is one of the greatest things ever. And in this conversation, we talk about not just being in love, but how to make long distance relationship work.
You cannot be in a long distance relationship when you're not talking, because that's all you have. Really, it's not like you can be like, yo, I'm coming to your house, or hey, I'm at your area, can I pull over? It's all you have is talking.
I've been following Adeobola for a while, and I know she's been in a long distance relationship for a while as well. And she talks about social media and digital marketing, but then I wanted to have this conversation about being in a long distance relationship and making it work. So yeah, grab a cup of coffee, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Adeobola Willams and I. This is one conversation I've been looking forward to having because I am a big fan of love. But then my challenge has always been with, I feel like relationships are harder right now. It's hard enough, and then when you talk about long distance relationship, it just becomes a whole different dimension of it's been difficult. I think from interactions on social, that where I follow you, I've seen you talk about long distance relationship a couple of times, and I was like, oh, okay, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Adeobola and actually just learn one or two things about long distance relationship. What would you say it's the one thing that would make or mar a relationship, long distance relationship?
Well, I don't know if it's one thing, but I think that your mindset is very important. So if you have the mindset that a long distance relationship is not going to work, it doesn't make sense to do it, and you go into one like that, you will not last. It will not result into whatever it is you're thinking it should result in. So it's very important that both people, the two parties in the relationship, know where they're at, where their mind is. What are we doing? Are we just vibing on a certain frequency from across the oceans? And then we'll see where we lead to, or do we have a goal? Do we see each other together? Are we going to do whatever it takes? What are our values? How are we measuring growth in this relationship? How are we measuring progress in this relationship? How are we going to make sure that the love, the trust, the communication is not lacking, even though we are far away? How often are we going to see? These are conversations that you would have, and those conversations stem from a place of your mindset. Where exactly is your mind at? Because close distance relationship, it can fail.
Yeah.
So, and then long distance relationship is already under a lot of strain.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing each other as often, right? But thank God for technology. So maybe a few years ago, when technology had not yet advanced this much,
So you had to write letters.
Maybe long distance relationship wouldn't make as much sense. But even then, I've met people in their 50s, in their 60s, that their husbands or the wives had to go to school for like 4 years in Russia, and they were in Nigeria, and they made it work. And I probably wouldn't have been able to do it then, but now technology is my friend. It has bridged up the gap. We can FaceTime as often as we want. It's not the same thing as a regular relationship, but you take your wins.
What are practical things you've done? Like, if you like, oh, these are the, we tend to text every day, or we try to set up dates every week. What are practical things you've done that has helped you?
Okay, so for me, I think I will categorize mine into three different categories. The first one is talk. Maybe because I'm a content creator and my partner is also in a creative space, so we don't always have to be on the phone to talk. So I'm here. I sent him video of me here. I sent him picture of me here when I was coming. I texted where I was going. I showed pictures of. So I carry him along in my life, even though he's not here. He can experience it with me. And same thing with him as well. Oh, I'm at this thing. Oh, he's crazy. You need to check it out. He's sending me videos. I remember vividly, there was a time I lost my phone years back. And it's bad already that you don't have phone. You're in a long distance relationship. Then I got a mail at work. And I wanted to rush to check the mail because it was a mail at work. And then I saw that it was my boyfriend that sent me an email. And throughout the 3 months, I didn't have a phone back then. We were communicating via email while I was at work. So I used work computer to sign into my Gmail, and that's what we are doing, So talk is very important.
Yeah, literally.
Find your way.
I can hear I literally can hear you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional.
Yeah.
Like you literally have to be intentional, because if it only takes intention for you to be like, oh, I need to communicate and I need to email instead of, because I cannot reach your phone.
Yeah.
So it's like
sometimes he calls me when I didn't have phone then too, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm not at work. I didn't have access to a laptop. He calls somebody that he knows would be with me. Sometimes he sends his friends to come and give me the phone so that they can go whatever and I can just like talk to him. So there's a lot of talk is very important. You cannot be in a long distance relationship when you're not talking, because that's all you have. Really, it's not like you can be like, yo, I'm coming to your house, or hey, I'm your area. Can I pull over? It's all you have is talking. So do that. Then another thing is you should have like basic laws. I don't like to call it laws, but it's important. I've been in my relationship for 4 years plus now, and there's never been a day where we don't talk. There's never been, if I'm upset, so I can't relate with people saying, oh, they're in relationships, they don't talk to their partners every day. It just doesn't make sense to me. And another thing is, if there's an issue, we have to sort it out. We have to sort it out. So and it doesn't mean that it's instantly. If you notice that there's something wrong, don't wait. Don't be like, oh, I don't really know. You can ask, oh, I think that this is something going on. Do you want to talk about it now? I can now be like, no, I'm not in the right space to talk about it now. But I am aware that there's a situation for me to talk about. And then third, date. It's a relationship. And even though you are far away, date, do cute stuff, send each other money, send each other gifts, send each other whatever it is you want to send. I think I made a post recently where I got a package from one of our old friends that just came into the country. And I wasn't expecting like, oh, I knew when he sent me stuff, shoes, bag, clothes, but he sent personal items. He wrote handwritten letters. These are things that are important, and those are things that they are called, I'm building core memories for my relationship, even though it's far away. Sent me his hoodie, sent me a bottle of his perfume. These are things that make me feel like, oh, he's right here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Me. So, yeah.
I have another question. What place does trust have in long distance relationship? I feel like for a lot of relationships to work, trust is a big deal. Like, has there been any instance where, there is loss of trust, or there is a doubt, or like, has that ever happened to you in 4 years?
So this question that you've asked there is, I've given the same answer when I'm asked this question year in, year out. I've never had a moment where I'm like, where's this guy? What's he doing? And it's because I'm not saying he's a perfect person, because there are no perfect people out there. But one of the things that made me fall in love with him in the first place is because he's very truthful. And it's very important. So even someone that is truthful, even when they are messing up, they are not going to hide away from you, because they always present the truth. That's what being truthful is. So I've never had an issue where I'm like, oh, where is he at? I always say that it's me because I'm always going up and down. Sometimes he probably doesn't even know where I'm at, because maybe I've been carried away by the work or by the community or by the conversations that I just remember when I'm already like 2 hours into whatever it is. I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to say that this is, and then I'm like, oh, I even went to this place, and just said, oh, okay, fine. So, and I think that consistently he has been open. So what builds trust in a long distance relationship is that you're not trying to hide anything. If somebody asks you where you're at, you don't take it as, why are you monitoring me? You take it as, this person just wants you to be accountable. And you're like, oh, I'm at Dilari's house. Like, oh, say hi to him, and then, okay, fine. And then I call him, where are you at? Or we're just talking like, oh, what's that sound? You don't feel like you're being threatened or you're being questioned. There's so much openness in the relationship. It's easier for you to trust, It's easier for you to, and I think his personality also like helps me to like keep in check. He doesn't have a lot of friends. So, and then we share common friends. So, like, it makes sense to me. Even if I don't know where he is, right now, I can take a guess that he's at church, but even if he's not there, it's okay. Because he has his life to live.
Yeah, I do agree. I think transparency is one of the biggest challenges that people have for relationships. Like, when you're not transparent or you don't see a need to be as transparent, you want to keep things to yourself. But then I think I understand from experience that people want to hold back things because you don't want to go in with all your heart so that you don't get breakfast.
Yeah,
I totally understand it. And so I understand the perspective. I just don't know how people would be able to navigate it and just be fully transparent with people. But then I always say this, you attract who you are. Like, if you are an open person, you would easily attract an open person.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we tend to
say
or even dive in and say, oh, but then if you are a kind person, you would always attract a kind person. Somehow, I think I see it all the time. So I totally agree. Have you had experiences like did you guys have to go through or learning how to keep the relationship open, or have you had experiences with your friends where there are issues and you like, oh, these are issues we see and we don't want to have in our relationship?
Oh yes. So one of the things. So I watch Skin Deep a lot. Skin Deep is this conversation on YouTube where people in a relationship, can be a father, mother, parents, children relationship, couple, old-time friends, people that used to be best friends but they don't speak anymore, people that used to be exes. Is this relationship? They just open up and answer these really deep questions. And then I watched an episode where this person asked our partner that, how will you describe to people what my love is like? So when I watched that video, I took that question and I sent it to my partner. Like, how would you describe? And the reason I can ask questions as vulnerable and as very intimate as that is because we've reached a point where it's okay to talk about things. So at the beginning, it wasn't always okay because, at the beginning, I'm looking, how open is he? Me, I'm very open. I'm fluid, and also because I'm very creative. So, and my personality also always makes me open. He is a very structured person. So, boundaries, walls up. But over the years, he has learned to always talk about things. Now, some things happen and he talks about them, like, look at you, so grown. Now you can open your mouth and talk about this type of thing. So it's really important that you have those conversations. They're going to be pretty conversations. They're going to be very ugly ones. And like I said before, all you have in a long distance is when you are seeing each other that you can be doing silent treatment. In a long distance, if you do silent treatment, they'll snatch your husband. In a long distance relationship, talk about it, the ugly ones, the sweet ones, the ones that you would rather not talk about, like, hey, when are we going to marry? Even in the normal, even in the marriage relationship, it's a question that some women cannot have their partners.
People run
when
away
are we
from
getting
it.
married? Like, why can't I ask you, am I here to be counting granules? There's a goal, there's a reason I got into this, there's where we are going, what happened to that goal? You should be able to ask. So, being in the long distance relationship, you should be able to have those conversations, so those really, really soft ones, and it gets easier.
What's the fondest memory you have of you guys?
I have a lot.
Like right now, when you think about it right now, this moment, what comes to mind?
Let me look for a recent one, so that's one that is fresh in my head. So
this conversations make me smile a lot.
Is it your love? Let me look for a recent one. Recently, he had this interview that was televised on YouTube, actually. And then it was a work day. I was at work too. And the time, of course, there's time difference. So I was like, send me the link. I want to come and check how you're doing. Because I knew he had been preparing for this job. He's been working so hard to get it. And then I went there, and then it was his turn. I even had to wait like an hour before it reached him. But then it reached him, and then while he was talking, I was just looking at him. I was so proud. I didn't know when I started typing in the comment section, like, that's my boy, that's my boyfriend, that's my man. And then the recruiter, the person that was hosting it, I was like, oh, there's an Adeobola Willams, wrecked my name, by the way. There's an Adeobola Willams in the comment section, who is Shegun's girlfriend. She's here. I love the support. And then for like 2 seconds, everybody was on that. It was really sweet. And then when we finished the call, he called me. I was like, thank you for showing up. Thank you for not just like quietly showing up. Thank you for making me know that you were there.
It's amazing. I love it. I
think that's my favorite one.
I love it. It's amazing. All right, thank you so much, Adeobola, for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Your heart wants to come out of your chest.
No, for real. Love is my favorite thing in the world. I think you can chase all the ambitions you want in the world, and it would be amazing. You'd live a cool life, but then doing it alone may be the worst thing. I feel like it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but love will always be number one for me.
Yeah. Love is sweet. Cheers.
I know. All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Coffee and Conversations. You can follow Adeobola on Instagram, Adeobola Leaves, and check out Coffee and Heart on Instagram or Dilarile on Instagram. Catch up on other episodes on this YouTube channel, and I'll talk to you another time. Bye.